Let there be shooters.
Hey everybody, Nefarious Wes here. Now, it's been a long time since I've done any shooter-related videos, and for that, I sincerely apologize. But I'm back with the doozy. It's a really good one. It's Phelios for the Sega Genesis. Now, Phelios is a Namco game, and... Damn fly. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Phelios. Phelios is a Namco game, and it's a shooter that is a little bit different than the space shooters that we were used to throughout the 80s. And, dude! God, is that annoying. Where is that good-for-nothing cat when you need her? Come on, you punk-ass cat. Pull your weight around here. You need to earn your food, after all. This is what I deal with all the time. Alright, so like I was saying, Phelios was a lot different than the conventional space shooters that we were used to seeing in the 80s. Now, what makes this game stand apart from the rest is that it borrows elements from Greek mythology and... Come on, man. I can't do this with this damn fly flying around like this. Oh, that's it. We're getting the big guns out. You know what? Let's roll the review. Having already delved into the world of shooters, Namco by 1988 was no stranger to the genre, with influential titles such as Galaga and Xevious already under their belts. They even stepped outside of their comfort zone and created atypical space shooters that didn't even take place in outer space. One of these particular games, called Dragon Spirit, even went on a more fantasy-driven path where the main protagonist consists of a fire-breathing dragon, battling monsters on air, land, and sea. This would undoubtedly become the precursor to another divergent entry within the Namco arcade shooters library, Phelios. Released to Japanese arcades in December 1988, Phelios employs an aesthetic loosely influenced by Greek mythology. In it, you play the role of Apollo, who on his trusty steed Pegasus has to fly through 7 teeth-grating stages to save his beloved Artemis. Like Dragon Spirit before it, Phelios takes place high in the sky above green and mountainous regions, not to mention dark and brooding caves, and even infernal damnation. With a unique setting purely encapsulated within fantasy, Phelios offered what a lot of shooters in the late 80s simply could not. The game, however, never found its way over to North American arcades, as some scenes within Phelios were considered too risque for vanilla-consuming Americans who were just beginning to crawl out from under the thumb of the moral majority. We'll cover that some more in a moment here. Luckily, Phelios was imported to the Sega Mega Drive in 1990, and then later to the Genesis. Just like in the arcade version, Apollo rides Pegasus to rescue his lover Artemis from the vile clutches of the evil Typhon. But there are some inconsistencies with the game's story versus the ancient lore which is the basis for Phelios. For one, in Greek mythology, Apollo and Artemis are siblings. Now, I'm into incestuous debauchery as much as your next filthy middle-aged pervert, but I'm not so sure that this is what Namco had in mind when projecting the story. But you know what? I'm not gonna get into the plot of a shooter. I have my flag planted firmly in the ground for camp. I don't give a fuck. And if you really care to learn more about the discrepancies between Phelios' lore and its mythological origins, check out my buddy Mike Tendo's review.
Phelios!
When Phelios begins, the Apollo-Pegasus combo takes off from a palace high in the sky. The HUD on the right displays a sword which plays the role of shot meter. By pressing and holding the fire button, the meter charges, and when full, allows you to unleash a powerful blast upon your foes. This is integral in surviving the malevolence that is Phelios, cause this game is simply punishing. It's brutal. It's been known to put hair on the chest of women. No, that's not a mythological beast. The game does not offer auto-fire whatsoever, not that it would do you any good, as the pea shooter is pretty much useless. The game is conservative in regards to power-ups, offering only a select few special weapons throughout. Options, just like in the Gradius series, can be collected with a maximum of 2 in tow. Speed increases do exactly that, while special weapons are few and far between, consisting of only the beam and a cross shots, while also occasionally tossing in some homing projectiles into the mix. These temporary special weapons are all unfortunately plagued by a time limit. You begin Apollo's adventure with 3 lives and 3 units of health, with the opportunity to collect a 4th. Phelios also gives you an unforgiving amount of continues to complete the game with a measly 3. Thankfully, there is a code to increase your credits to 9. Each stage is unique from one another and boasts of its own distinctive environment. The first stage tosses baddies at you from the ground and air before Pegasus takes off from a palace in the sky over the lush and vibrant land, veiled underneath billowing clouds as Laden the Dragon of Death circulates the skies. This replaced the bland scaling landscapes of the arcade version. While primitive by today's standards, I was thoroughly impressed with all of the colors that the Genesis game offered when I first played this one back in 1991. I think the visuals still look great today. Each level consists of a harrowing battle through troughs of obstacles overridden with demons, mercifully adorned by a single checkpoint. Each stage then concludes inside of a palace that harbors one of 7 fiendish bosses, bloodthirsty for the bones of gods and equine flesh. And booty. Demons love booty. After defeating each boss, we are greeted to a cutscene projected from a gigantic mirror emblazoned within the palace floor, where we are then able to check on Artemis' current condition. This is what apparently got the American censor's panties all in a bunch for the arcade version. The torture scenes. Really? Torture? Artemis has it so rough. You could argue that the Genesis version is a bit more bawdy.
No wall can contain this hot bod.
Now, while I personally think that the visuals for Phelios are gorgeous for its age, it would need an equally robust soundtrack to complement the game's narrative, right? Well, sort of. While the music won't necessarily knock your socks off, they do fit the mood of the game superbly, and despite the Genesis' sound limitations, I feel that Namco was able to pull off some of Phelios' orchestrated numbers in splendid fashion. Namco was always pushing the Genesis hardware, and Phelios was no exception. The Genesis can't do scaling, but damned if Namco wasn't gonna try. But on top of the fantasy aesthetic, what really draws me to this game is its challenge. Phelios is balls to the wall brutal. Call me a sadomasochist, but this game's arduous difficulty gets my rocks off. As frustrating as this shooter can be, and as often as I hear, it becomes more or less a siren song to me, drawing me back for more and more punishment. Memorization is definitely key, but quick reflexes and tight hand-eye coordination obviously play a crucial role as well. So do I recommend Phelios? Absolutely. It's fantastic. While I am usually not a fan of shooters that require charge shots, I am completely enamored with the mechanic here. The mythical environment consisting of axe-wielding skeletons, archers, sorcerers, and more, coupled with an orchestrated soundtrack is completely alluring, and the challenge will keep any skilled player coming back for more. And with that sweet pie in the sky, how could you resist? There you are, you little bastard. Ugh. Gotcha, you little bastard. What the hell? Boy, what a pain in the ass that was. And Phelios can be a bit of a pain in the ass as well, but damn it, it's worth it. It's fun, it's challenging, it's got great aesthetics, the music is good, and it's just a one-of-a-kind unique shooter that you owe yourself to play, especially if you're a fan of the genre. Believe me, you're gonna dig it. So I would just like to thank everyone for watching this episode, this Return to the Shooters episodes. I got more in store for you, don't worry. And I would also like to give a big thank you to Candy's Game Shrine for providing the voice for Artemis in this video. She did a really good job, and she makes some great retro-related videos, Virtual Boy stuff. She's got an awesome collection. Make sure to check out her channel. I'll leave a link in the description below. But until next time, I'll catch all of you guys later.